Shane, how's it going?
Bad, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Here's Stephen as well.
Yes.
All right, Shane, how we doing?
Happening, Stephen. Long time no see.
Same yourself. Looks like you're living the dream anyway.
I know it's all going good now. Yeah, new place in Nashville, like so, all good.
Fantastic, fantastic. No, I was talking to Thomas Campbell there over the Christmas, and he was showing me pictures of where his new crib is down in the middle of Nashville. It's
Yeah,
not
Thomas,
nothing to be sniffed at.
he's living the life. I was just on the phone to him a while ago. Yeah, he's
Fantastic,
yeah.
fantastic. Okay, so Andrew, if you want to just kick on with this in regards to introductions and that.
Yeah, absolutely no bother. Welcome everyone. This is the very first SMUSA live session. Three of us on here. I'm Andrew. I'm the digital media manager at SMUSA Scholarships. We've got Stephen, director of SMUSA Scholarships, and we've also got Shane Cronin as well. So first and foremost, Shane, how's it going?
All good now. Very good.
So the way we're going to go with this is we're going to kind of talk about your journey
Yeah.
from Ireland, you discovering that you wanted to go down the scholarship pathway, and then obviously how your time in America has gone. So first and foremost, do you want to just tell us a little bit about your background in Ireland?
Yeah. So I played with a few clubs back in Cork, but for me, it didn't all really like kick off until I joined Rockmount. So I played with like Rockmount seniors when I was like 17. So at that age, there was a couple of boys older than me who were starting to come out to the US. Like before that, I had no idea about it. So I spoke to a few who came out basically, and I always wanted to go to the college, but I didn't want to forget about soccer or football or whatever. So from speaking to those boys, then, and I spoke to the Rockmount senior manager at the time, Billy Cronin, who's well known in Cork, and he kind of gave me some advice on it. And then what I did is I emailed Stephen. Honestly, it was just out of hope. I didn't think anything would come with it. And then he invited me up to, I think it was Mayfield, the first one, Stephen, right? Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
We went up to Mayfield for like a trial game there. All went well. So then Stephen invited me then up to Nina and Tipperary. So we played up there. And actually, from what I remember, a lot of boys from that showcase ended up coming out the following year. But I was going to come out in 2016, right after my leaving cert. But Stephen said, take a year, like a year gap, because it'll benefit me. And it definitely did, because I reckon in 2016, just after leaving cert, like the recruiting period for obviously US colleges were like kind of closed. So I had like maybe one or two offers. But then after taking that year out, I'd say every week I was texting Stephen with a new offer. I think in the end I had about 21, 22 different college offers, just from obviously being with Stephen and him putting my name out there. So for me, taking the year out was the best thing I done. And then I'm sure we'll speak about it, but I ended up going to a small little town in Georgia for a college, Emmanuel College.
So obviously all them offers you got, how did you manage to differentiate each one, and how did you manage to narrow it down to Emmanuel?
So basically, every time you get contacted by a college, when you respond to them, the coaches who are really interested will set up like a Skype call or a Zoom call, whatever. And for me, I just had the best like relationship with the coach from Emmanuel, Scott Borchers, was actually on this live stream now. So I spoke to him. My mom, my dad spoke to him, and then it kind of all just seemed like the right run for me. I looked at the roster, and there was boys from Scotland, Germany, England, everywhere. So I was like, I've got a good chance of fitting in here. He just basically made me feel welcome before I even got there. So it was kind of before I even got there, home away from home, I suppose. And then I went there, spent all 4 years there. And then because of COVID, everyone, I don't know why, but I mean, I'm grateful for it, but everyone got like an extra year of college soccer. So we'll speak about it in a bit, but I ended up coming to Nashville to Trevecca.
How was the playing opportunities in Cork, and was that one of the main reasons why you decided to have the scholarship route as one of your other options?
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky because when I got to play with Rockmount seniors, like that's a good standard with some great people there. But I always wanted to go to college. That was my number one, and full time. When that came together with it, I was like, it was kind of a no-brainer for me. So when I heard then that you train every day, you play matches twice a week, you travel, buses, you fly, and you're still in college at the same time, I was like, it's a perfect, like, ideal situation for me. So I mean, I went all in for it, and it ended up working out.
Obviously, we've got guys and girls in our network at the moment, and there's also guys and girls out there who are probably considering the scholarship route. What sort of advice would you give them, both for those in our network and those kind of contemplating?
I mean, I think if it's something that you really want to do, if you just want to play football like in a full-time environment where you're kind of worried about basically education stuff, my advice would be just to go all in for it. And like the reason I say that is because I put my mind fully into it for a year, and I ended up getting myself basically 5 years later. I've lived in some of the biggest cities in the US just because I went for it, and I didn't really want to do anything else. And also I would say just trust Stephen, because I mean I must have wrecked Stephen's head, I'd say, for a full year with emails, texts every day, like, is this done, is that done, you have my transcripts, can you help with this and that? And I mean, I probably wrecked his head too much, but I mean, I didn't have to. So I'd say just trust Stephen and his team, let them do it all for you. I mean, at the end of the day, that's basically what they're good at. So,
Stephen, what was Shane like throughout the process?
Yeah, look, Shane, and Shane's a perfect example of somebody that was probably didn't get the recognition when he was younger for his level of play. I saw a very energetic centre midfielder. I remember the first time I saw him in Mayfield, and you know, people have this conception that, oh well, I played a good level in Ireland, I have to go to a good level of college in the US, good location. That I know Emmanuel College, I know the location's not fantastic or anything, but sometimes you just know what's the right fit. And for Shane, he went in. Main thing for Shane was that he wanted to play right away, which was one of the things obviously that did happen for Shane. Emmanuel, if you look Emmanuel up on the website, a lot of people have looked at it and see straight away to see religious stuff and everything that goes with it. It's no further from the truth that it's not that way it is. And yet again, it's more a case of the environment that you're in there. But in regards to Shane, one of the biggest reasons why we're having this conversation right now is because Shane has been a very good ambassador in regards to going over, in regards to anything that's come back regarding Shane has been model professional in the way he does things. And he's got the opportunities. He's gone to Emmanuel, small college town. He's gone to Grand Rapids to play USL during the summer. And now he's having an opportunity, obviously, in Nashville in the city. But I always say, you know, that's what I said to Shane at the start. I said, as much as you're going to a small college town, small location, you have the opportunity to travel. You have the opportunity to do a lot of things over in the US while there. And I think Shane has grasped that. And we go back on events, you know, that I had with Shane. And that's one of the main reasons why I have the events. I can tell a player, of course, right away, but you bring these events together because you'll bring these boys together and you can always guarantee probably 6 or 7 of them will end up being in the US. So you build up a relationship. It helps with that going forward. You either play with them or against them. Showcase events as well. These are all things that can align. So that's something that people have this thing of saying, oh, well, why would you pay a fee to an organization to help you? But it's so much more than getting a lad over to the US that goes with it. And obviously Shane would testify for that. But you try to build relationships, and yet again, Shane has been a prime example of what we would use going forward.
Shane, it's not all about the schools in like New York and California and Florida, is it? Like obviously you've gone to Georgia, and then you've obviously gone to Trevecca thereafter.
yeah.
It's not all about these big places, is it?
No, I mean, I've been really lucky because I've got to see both of them. Because now I'm in Nashville, which is like one of the fastest growing cities in the US. Like my apartment now is 5 minutes from downtown. But for the first 4 years out here, like, I was in a small town in Georgia, and to be honest, I don't think I'd change it for anything, because like you're limited with your distractions, number one. So like our whole team, we were just focused on school and football basically for 4 months of the year, which is the college season. And then the thing is, with a small school like that, you end up knowing everybody. Like some of my best friends there, who I still contact every day. I mean, everybody I know from Ireland who came out and went to a small school, they all have like the same thing to say back, that they absolutely loved it. So going back to what Stephen said there, like playing against people and things like that, I remember I played against, up in Neenah, I played against Glenn Waters. We came out the same time. He also went to a small school, and now he's down in Alabama now as well. So, I mean, it's just whether or not you want to go and take the chance. And I mean, I did. I knew it was a small school. I knew it was a religious school. But the thing about Emmanuel was like they basically took me in with open arms, and they were like, you can be open-minded. Like if you want to buy into this, you can. If you don't want to do it, then that's completely up to you. But we'll give you like the foundation to build you like as a player. I mean, Scott Borchers, my first year, he'll probably laugh at me saying this, but he killed me every single day. I mean, he put me straight into the starting team when I first got there, but he killed me every day. He literally picked on me every single day to make me a better player, and it was the best thing I ever done. I don't think I would have got that personally at a big school. so that's one of the reasons why I loved it. But at Emmanuel as well, you get to know all your teachers, like at a small school, because you've got 20, 25 people in a class. So college becomes a lot easier. And then I suppose on top of that, all the faculty in the school, they basically treat you like family. So it was hard at the start coming away from home, but it ended up becoming a home away from home.
Just read one of the comments there saying small classrooms allow you to learn better. Do you feel that's the case?
100%, because I'm here now in Nashville, and it's a bit of a bigger school, but what I know is at Emmanuel, if I ever had a problem with something, because I was in a course that was kind of tough, so if I had a problem with a certain class or something, and I'd email the teacher, the professor, or the doctor, they'd basically get back to me straight away. You can meet in person. They'd look after you. But I mean, at a big school with a class of 300-400, it wouldn't be that easy.
So the important factor to remember as well as a student athlete is that you're a student first and an athlete second. So that's important for guys and girls going over as well, isn't it, to kind of really remember that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'll give you an example. So at Emmanuel, let's say I was taking 5 classes. The rule was if at any point of that semester I was failing 2, I was taken out of all team activities. So like I couldn't train, I couldn't play. I mean, that kind of gave you the incentive to obviously stay on top of your schoolwork, because if you're not playing in college soccer, I don't think there's anything worse. So especially if you're not playing because of something, you could obviously, if you get injured, that's not your fault, that happens. But if you're not playing because of schoolwork, then that's completely on you. Well, as I said, those type of schools, they give you the foundation, they help you as much as possible. Because obviously some courses, people are not going to be good at them, like the chemistry, physics, things like that. But I mean, there's the resources there to do well. But a lot of coaches who are strict about it, obviously student does come first and then soccer comes second.
So obviously when you went to Emmanuel, can you remember the first few weeks? Was there any like nerves? Was there homesickness?
Honestly, yeah. So when I first landed, I landed in Atlanta Airport, which is like one of the biggest airports I've ever seen. And I drove like an hour from there to the college, or a little bit more than an hour. But what happened was Scott Borchers, he actually let me and another boy stay in his house for 2 nights before school started. So that kind of eased me in a bit. And then when I walked into the dressing room, I'd say the day before pre-season for like a team meeting, I heard Glasgow accents. I heard boys from Dunfermline, Irish boys, English boys, Germans. And I mean, like I just knew straight away they were all kind of in the same boat as me. Some of them were older, but I mean, it was just a click straight away. But one thing I noticed about here, and I'm sure every foreign boy who comes from America will say, is that the Americans really do look after you, especially their families. So it wasn't I was homesick, obviously missing my family and friends, but I knew this was something that I wanted to do, and the boys made it really easy.
Obviously, the mix of nationalities in the dressing room, it's probably something you wouldn't have experienced here in Ireland. So how did that benefit you?
It was unbelievable. Like at first, I was kind of shocked because I hadn't really played with people from South America, people from like Asia, people from everywhere, and then we were all put in the same team together. We were all living together. So it was like, for me, it was kind of a culture shock, but in a good way, because kind of opened my mind to things rather than being in the north side of Cork City. I got to see like cultures from everywhere in the world, and I mean, I love that.
I know it's probably going to be hard to sum up your 4 years at Emmanuel. How did you find it? First and foremost?
It was definitely by far the best 4 years of my life so far. I got everything I wanted out of it, and even more. I got some of the best friends I'll ever have, and I mean, I ended up getting a degree at the end of it, so I won't complain about that. What's
the difference in playing compared to Ireland in America?
I'd say it's definitely a lot more technical here. The teams I've played on, like the ball we try not to have the ball leave the ground much. It's a lot, I wouldn't say it's a lot less physical, but there's more focus on playing and more focus on like basically possession. Whereas growing up in Ireland, and especially when I got into senior teams, like it was physicality, it was whether or not you can take a hit. But the biggest thing I noticed about the US, and Stephen, I'm sure you can agree with this, is that the fitness levels over here is ridiculous. I mean, you spend the first week of pre-season just running, which is unbelievable, because then for the next 4 months, you're as fit as you can be. And because I remember our first week at Emmanuel, we had fitness test the first day, and then after that, before school starts, we'd have 3-4 sessions a day. So we'd have morning, mid-morning, afternoon, evening. And then here at Trevecca, it was twice a day for 2 weeks straight. So, I mean, for me, it was getting up to that fitness. Like, I was always fit, but this was a whole different level of fitness. And then, but I loved it. And once I got there, I don't think I'd ever let myself drop down again.
And obviously, your teammates are like your family. You must have some stories from from some of the coach journeys.
Oh, 100%. I mean, some of them stories probably can't be said, but but I mean, I have some friends that will be friends for life, like 100% from every continent. Like friends at Emmanuel, we visit each other all the time. There's a few of them coming up next week. They visited me when I was in Michigan, and then now I've got a whole new group of friends here at Trevecca. And there's a boy from where basically I live at home. He's like 5 minutes away from me. He's on the team here, which is mad because we basically grew up 2 minutes down the road from each other.
How did you find the transition from the lifestyle back home to the American lifestyle? Because it is very different, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very different. I mean, when I first got here, the fact that I had to manage college and 2 training sessions a day, as well as traveling every weekend, midweek, that was a bit tough at the start, like the time management. So basically, I definitely had to look after myself a lot more in terms of like food, eating, things like that, because if I didn't, I wouldn't have been able to handle it. And then time management, like as I said, if you don't do your schoolwork, you're not going to play. So for me, it was trying to fit everything into one day, and then still finding time to hang out with the boys, go see America, because we weren't that far from Atlanta, and it's the same now, probably even more so now because I'm doing a master's, and then there's a city like 5 minutes away. So still trying to manage your time and get everything in one day, while getting the important things done, you know.
And obviously, away from school and away from football, is there anywhere that stands out where you travel to?
I've been lucky enough. I've got to see nearly all the East Coast just solely due to playing. Like in 2019, I played MPSL. I lived like 15 minutes from downtown Philadelphia. That was unbelievable. I played with Torch FC up there. And then 2020, obviously, it was COVID, so nothing happened. And then this past summer, I played USL2 with Grand Rapids. That was up in Michigan. And then other than that, I've got to travel a bit. I mean, I've seen New York. I've seen Washington. I'd say my favorite was probably Atlanta. Because I live not too far away from there, and there's like Atlanta United there, Atlanta Hawks, all that stuff. And then now I'm living in Nashville. I love Nashville here as well. It's completely different. Like it's a country city, as everyone knows, a music city. So I mean, I'm enjoying that as well.
You touched upon the 2 summer teams you played for. I know some student athletes come home for in the summer. You chose to play summer football. What was the thought process behind that?
Honestly, my freshman summer, so freshman year, my first year, I went home for that summer. Just because my first year, I wanted to go home, be a family, and then I was like, yeah, that time at home was probably too long, and I didn't get to play football for a while. So the following year, I had a good sophomore season in college, so there was a few teams that kind of were a bit interested. So I went up to Torch in Philadelphia, and then last year was another step up to Grand Rapids, and I think that's basically full-time football. Like there's no college there's no nothing. All you do is train and play. I love that. I mean, and I got to see 2 different cities as well. But this summer, unfortunately, I got injured pretty early on in the season. But I still got to experience it. So I'd say summer football, anyone who like had the chance to do it or thinking about doing it, definitely do it. Send out some emails, try and get yourself a place to go, because it's a very good experience.
And it helps with the development of you as a player as well, because the standard's really high.
Yeah, so like in spring season here, it's kind of like a long off season, pre-season. So you go spring season, and when I played in summer season, I was able to come back into the college season then already fit and already fresh. Like there was no rustiness or anything, so I was able to just get straight back into it. Whereas if I took a summer off, like my first year, it's tough to get back into it.
And obviously we're still living in the world of COVID, but how was the last 2 years at college and university? It must have been pretty strange.
It was a bit strange, but I was definitely lucky in terms of like what Ireland's like. It was definitely a lot different. So in 2020, we went home for 4 or 5 months, I think. Then we came back out for fall 2020, and we were expecting a season, but that fall 2020 ended up getting cancelled. So my senior year fall season got cancelled, but it was obviously changed to the spring season. So spring season just like a shortened season. There wasn't as many games, so we only had a game once a week rather than 2 or 3 times a week. And then because of that COVID season, so everyone gets 4 years of eligibility, and because of COVID, we got 1 extra one. So that's how I was able to transfer then up to Trevecca to play my last year, which I just did. But school still went ahead. Like some classes were online, some classes actually were cancelled, but most of them were still in class with masks on or whatever. Some classes. So when we went home, we did everything on Zoom, but when we came back, they tried to get it in person as much as possible.
Obviously, when you found out players were rewarded that extra year of eligibility, what was the thought process going to Trevecca? Was there any thoughts of staying with Emmanuel, or was it, I want to take this opportunity to go and study a year elsewhere?
To be honest, my plan was to go home. I talked to Stephen about it because I was going to do my master's at home. That didn't work out. So, and then I found out I had the COVID year. So I ended up so Emmanuel College is just an undergraduate school. So it only has all undergraduate programs. So I wanted to basically see if I could do my master's. And then I kind of spoke to Stephen. Some emails were sent out and things. And then Danny Levy here, the head coach at Trevecca, he just called me one day and said, "Am I still looking?" I think this was around mid-May. I just got to Grand Rapids. So he called me. We had some conversation. I spoke to like 4 or 5 schools, and then I knew some people there at Trevecca, so the process was a bit easier. He told me everything that was involved. He said I'd play my senior year, and then I'd kind of transition into GA role, which is what I'm going to start in the summer. The graduate assistant role, where I basically help him be one of the assistant coaches, and then basically just help out with the team.
Was coaching or is coaching something that you've always wanted to do?
Like coaching kids and things like that wouldn't be something I'm interested in, but I would be interested in coaching college level. I still want to play, obviously, which is the plan this summer and hopefully thereafter. But in terms of coaching, I'm definitely interested in coaching college level, yeah.
So the decision to do your masters at Trevecca, how different was it on the studying side of things to doing your undergraduate?
Yeah, so in my undergraduate, I basically was in class from anywhere from 8 a.m. to 2:30 in the day. So, but now my masters, a lot of it's online, but the only class I have is 6 to 10 on a Thursday night. So that was last night. You'd have one class a week for 4 hours, and then everything else is kind of online stuff. So rather than being in class every single day, it's only one night a week, and then the rest of it's online.
How have you found the facilities at Trevecca? Because it is a top program, isn't it?
Trevecca, their facilities are unbelievable here. I mean, back in fall, like FIFA visited our pitch because it could be one of the training destinations for the World Cup in 2026. I think that's how good like the Trevecca soccer facilities are. Is that it's been considered to have a team train here for the World Cup in a couple of years. But they've got like gym facilities, the pitch is unreal, and as I said, you can see the Nashville skyline from where we play.
And obviously, it's not just Trevecca with amazing facilities. It's all over the US as well, isn't it? So that's why, really, the scholarship route should be one 16, 18-year-olds and even above should be considering.
Oh, definitely, because I mean, it just gives you a chance to. It's a professional lifestyle without being a professional, basically. I mean, that's the way I've always described it. You get everything. Like the amount of gear we get is a joke. We get a different outfit for nearly every day, and then we travel all the time. We fly to games, things like that. It's, as I said, professional without being a professional.
What does the future hold for you, Shane? I know you've just mentioned the graduate assistant, but what are you hoping to achieve in the coming years?
I'm obviously not done with playing yet. Finishing college soccer, it's kind of like it's a big transition because you're kind of figuring out what to do next. So I'll begin obviously with coaching phase, and then hopefully something new with playing comes up. Playing this summer, hopefully again, and then we'll see after that. I'm interested in traveling a bit more too. I mean, I don't think I ever would have done that if I didn't come to America. But I'd say for now, it's just kind of focusing on my master's for the next couple of months and then see where things go. Because the master's program's starting to get a lot tougher now, so it's going to need a bit more attention.
Yeah, I think Shane, just listening to your story, it's a story told by so many. Look, I did it 20 years ago myself, and I graduated with a degree, and all I wanted to do was play. And it's probably the biggest advice I give to people listening is, once you get that degree in your back pocket, give yourself a few years to try play. Do whatever you can to try play, continue on in the game. The coaching will come, everything else will come. Don't have regrets. But your story is one of those where I look at it, you're living the dream, because I just don't think them opportunities would have arisen for you in Ireland. And that's nothing against your level or anything. You went, you took the chance. I'm dealing with so many lads right now that go to colleges like Emmanuel, and their perception is after a year is I just want to transfer because it's not in a big city, it's not surrounded by other schools, there's not much opportunity to transport, and you're just the perfect guy. And that's why we wanted to get someone like you on that has been at a small school but has embraced it, and now you've got the opportunity to go to Trevecca, a bigger university in a city. You've played USL during the summer. You've just put yourself out there, and yet again, as much as I can help you, it does take someone like you to kind of say, look, I want these opportunities, I have to go chase them. And to be honest, with Irish students going over, I know when I was in college and afterwards, it was very little help for you to push on in that. A lot of it was done. But now we've got the Northern American Soccer Coaches. It's an Irish organisation that's helping a lot of Irish lads over there as well. The network over there is huge. And I always say, no matter what you go over and do in the US, you'll get a degree and all that. But the biggest education is that you network, you put yourself out there, and you relate with other people, and opportunities will come. Which you've probably seen.
Yeah, definitely. Because like when I first came out, as you said there, I just wanted to play. I didn't really care where I was playing. I didn't come out to America like to go and just be a tourist. I just wanted to play, and I got that at Emmanuel, where I had a coach who trusted in me. He trusted me, but he put a lot of responsibility on me as like a 19-year-old coming out here, and I enjoyed that. So I was like, why would I ever want to leave here? I play like almost every minute of every game. I play with some unbelievable players like every week. I train with them every day. So for me, that was enough for me. I didn't really want much more. And then every year, the standard that kept coming in was getting better and getting better, and then in the summer, I was getting to go and see somewhere new. So I kind of just took it as to where I was like really, really lucky. I got to see something new, and I didn't really want to change it for anything. And then obviously now I get to come to somewhere completely new, which is an unbelievable city. And I don't think having like the opportunity of training twice a day, every day for the last 5 years, that's not something I want to kind of let go of yet. I want to still have that, still play at a good level. So I think we're just working on that now with some people. But as you said, I have the connections now to do that. So I've got a lot of people who are willing to help me out and willing to get me places. So hopefully
it's brilliant, because yet again, it's a common question by people is they think if you only go D1, well, that's the only way you're going to get the opportunity to go pro. It's no further from the truth. There's so many quality NAIA players that have come through that are playing pro. And now the way the US system is, there's probably maybe 150, 200 pro teams between MLS, USL, down to the lower leagues. There's so many opportunities. So all you're trying to tell people is, yes, of course, come in and trust the process. It's not going to be straight sailing. There's going to be a lot of bumps in the road. But I think, even hearing you talk now, I don't think I've ever heard you talk as much, because before you start in the process, you're probably a little bit more reserved in a lot of ways, but now you're more independent. You've had to go out of your own comfort zone.
Yeah, definitely. Because like when I first came to you, I was like, right, I want to go Division 1. And then I sent you a list of schools, and there was some like top programs. But when playing Division 2 over here, some of the players playing Division 2 like is ridiculous. Like Mikey Rowe, who's involved with you now. I played against Mikey every year when he was at Young Harris, and everyone knows he's playing. He just scored a while ago with Galway. So I mean, it's D1 obviously is great, but D2 it's just as good, if you ask me.
Yeah, and the biggest problem right now these days is social media, because everybody just thinks they're living this lifestyle and they put it on social media, and then other people will buy into that. You have to go over and live this life yourself. If you start judging what other people do in other colleges or other locations, trust me, the grass is not always greener. So yet again, I know Emmanuel, I know the location, I know Scott Bouchers is on this. He'll say it himself, but he was able to attract a lot of very good international players, and for the most part, every one of them had a great experience. And it's all about the coach. At the end of the day, You can have the nice location, you can be wherever you want to do, but if you don't have a coach that trusts you and doesn't have a coach that believes in you to want to play, well, then it's not going to work, no matter what school you're at.
Yeah, definitely. I was lucky. I had that in Emmanuel, and I also had that here at Trevecca with Danny Levy, who I'm sure you work with quite a lot as well. For me, it was just trying to find, as you said, a coach that trusted me and that just lets me play, rather than a coach who like micromanages and like watches everything you do. He focused on the soccer side of things with me, and that was good enough for me. But as you said, like with players coming over, if you really do want to go Division 1, like you can come over, play Division 2, and then you can go Division 1. But with those bigger schools, you're not, like it's a lot harder obviously to get into teams and stuff like that. But going on the social media stuff, if you looked at my social media, you'd think I was playing for Stanford or something, because of the amount of places I've been to, the amount of team gear that we get. Like obviously them big massive programs have more facilities, have more players, things like that. But that doesn't mean a Division 2 school won't give you a just as good experience.
Definitely. So just Shane, obviously we'll round this off pretty soon, but just in regards to Irish lads, from your own, experience and stuff like that, I'm dealing with a lot of boys that, they're getting to that U19 stage in the League of Ireland, maybe contracts aren't coming in. My thought process is go to the US for 4 years, 23 years of age, potentially have your degree, full-time football in your back pocket, you can come back to Ireland and play. Is it something that you're starting to realise more, that maybe lads are looking at this route?
Yeah, I mean, because every year there's always been at least one Irish player come into every program I've been in. And then I've seen more and more people starting to come out. Like, you've dealt with Kevin Fitzgerald, he's on the call. He came out he was playing senior League of Ireland football with Athlone, and he ended up coming out here, and I don't think he'll ever go home. He's loving it out here, playing at a top NIA program now too. At Mo.
I feel like Kevin Fitzgerald was in the system for about 10 years before he went over, but he's done very well and he's got where he needs to be.
Oh, definitely, 100%, because he's just an example of someone who's playing League of Ireland football, but this ended up being a better route for him. And look at him now, he's playing NPSL, he's playing at a top 5 NIA program, I think. So he's someone who could have held on and played League of Ireland football, but he took the jump out here, and it's been brilliant for him.
Yeah, and just even on the Nashville, I lived in Nashville myself for a number of years, but I'm just looking like the likes of Jesse Stafford-Lacey as well, that was in Kerry, and he's a graduate assistant now at Cumberland University as well. And look, there's a big influx there of, other guys, Stephen Lunny as well at Lipscomb University. So a lot of these cities, and people always look at cities and they say, oh, I'd love to be in Chicago or New York or the bigger cities. Down the south now is the biggest thing for me was the kind of the hospitality of the southern people, how generous they were. It was just a little bit more laid back in lifestyle, and I'm sure you appreciate that yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Southern hospitality is actually everyone said to me before I came, but it's a real thing, because people they take you home for Thanksgiving, they treat you like one of their own children basically. But another thing about the south that I loved was the weather. When I first came out, I couldn't handle it. Like, my pale Irish skin, I was getting burned alive, but it was kind of something where I was living in 35, 36 degree weather, training every day, and then in the winter, obviously it was cold, but the weather was a big thing that kept me here as well.
Perfect. Andrew, is there anything from yourself? I see a lot of comments coming through there. Francesco, I know you in Chicago, man. You're a perfect example of a college player, but I can't answer some of them questions. Anything from you, Andrew?
No, it's been an insightful chat, Shane. Probably, for those watching, whether they're in our network or not, really, really useful. So no, me and Stephen both appreciate you coming on and taking the time out of your Friday. Although it won't be Friday night, it'll be Friday afternoon.
Yeah, I reckon if anyone needs any questions, whatever, I'll happily help them out and just go for it.
Perfect.
Brilliant, Shane. Thank you very much for your time. Much appreciated, and all the best, obviously, going forward from here. All right.
No worries, lad. See you later. Have a good weekend.
All right.
Thanks very much, Shane. Cheers.
Take care, lads.